Hey, what's going on guys, Migzuba here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a mono black discard deck for standard best of one. So, ladder just reset, and now I'm down to play with some slightly jankier things on the ranked ladder, and in this video we're going to be exploiting TERGRID. So, TERGRID on the creature side is a 5-mana menace for 5. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So we're pairing this with a bunch of discard synergies to hopefully get some crazy value out of TERGRID. And on the other end, it's not so bad. It's a legendary artifact that taps and target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. So it plays with the back end of itself. And, well, yeah, that sounds great, guys. Well, it plays with the other side, basically, the DFC. And for 4 mana, you can untap it. So you can basically just force another sacrifice or another discard. And around TERGRID, we have built a mono black sort of aggro shell. So we'll get into it. We have some Serrated Scorpions as incremental life gain, as well as a good blocker, and just a way to start with the curve and stay alive, as well as pressure the opponent. So not a bad card. Got some Bloodchief's Thirsts, just cheap removal. It can take out Planeswalkers. Acquisitions Experts and Elder Fang Disciples. They're 2 mana discard creatures. When they ETB, they basically force the opponent to discard a card. If you go Disciple into Expert, Expert will reveal 2 cards because this is a Cleric and this is a Rogue, so party types do trigger. So that's the explanation for these two. You can always play them on curve, or you can wait till you have a TERGRID. Like, top decking these later in the game are typically really bad, but if you have a TERGRID on the board, these can be more real. Heartless Act, just kill a thing. Skyclave Shade, sometimes we make ourselves discard, like with Demonic Embrace, Rankle, or Liliana. And I like having cards that you aren't super punished for discarding, which is why we have the Shade. It's also why we have Demonic Embrace. It's a card that we're pretty happy to discard because we can get value from it when it's in the yard, as well as Roast Rider. That's why I won Roast Rider. But yeah, that's just my logic in discard decks that also force you to discard. I want to not be punished by my own discarding effects. We have some Valkyries. This doesn't make the opponent discard, but it can steal a creature temporarily, and eventually if we get to 7 mana we can play the Tybalt side. The only red mana we have is in the Pathways, but we're only going to get there on 7 anyways, so I think 2 Valkyries along with the Pathways is fine because they're just basically free black sources, and the only downside in this deck is that they're not snow covered. 2 Murderous Rider and 2 Soul Shatter. I want to talk about these cards together. Basically, Soul Shatter is cool because it makes the opponent sacrifice a creature, and with TERGRID on the board, you get that creature, which is really cool. And hold on. Yeah, TERGRID says permanent, so if you make them sacrifice a Planeswalker, you get that Planeswalker too. So I might add more Soul Shatters to the deck. We'll see how it goes. If throughout the video I switch to like 3 Soul Shatters and a Murderous Rider, then you guys know why. But yeah, I'm testing out 2/2 right now. I like Murderous Rider because obviously you get the life-linking body on the other side of it, and maybe the thing with the highest CMC isn't what you want to kill for whatever reason, so I don't know, we're going to try out the Riders. Embrace is sort of like a pseudo-win con, a way to pressure your opponent, and a free discard outlet because you can cast it from the yard. Roast Rider, it gives you a token, which is really great to sacrifice to the Rankle, and it can help us get through more cards. It's okay in the deck. I mostly have it as a good escape card to get value in the mid to late game. We have some Lilianas. You can kill a thing with the minus if you've gone late enough into the game, plus discard pairs well with TERGRID. It can also do that typical 3 life drain, which comes up so often in this deck. And if you can eventually emblem it, we have a lot of creatures to get back, so, you know, that's a possibility. Hagromulling is just a tap land that can kill a creature. I like one of these in some of my black mid-rangey aggro decks, and the TERGRIDs. So for mana base, we are a snow deck to take advantage of Faceless Haven, but we have a fair amount of double black pips, and we also don't have a full snow mana base. I like castles because it's the best one and we're discarding anyways, so the mana base is very flexible. You can cut down on castles, run more snow-covered swamps, and max out your Faceless Haven if you want to be more aggressive. I've gone for the slightly less aggressive stats with 2 Faceless Havens and a couple less snow lands. So, anyways guys, that's the list. If you like it, be sure to drop a like on the video and consider subscribing. It motivates me to make more content. So that's going to be it for me, guys. Let's get into some games. Okay, opponent's going to start. Our hand is fine. Let's keep it and see where we go from here. We're gonna hold this back for a little while. We might draw a Tybalt, we might not. It might become a red source. We'll see. Opponent cracks, goes for forest, sure. We're gonna lead on the Disciple because party type. Going Disciple into Acquisitions Expert is usually better. And they ditch an Embercleave. Okay, so probably Gruul. Maybe that means they have second cleave. Ooze. Alright. I mean, we can double block Ooze. And we find land 5. So that's going to be useful for casting TERGRID. Go for the Acquisitions Expert. Party types make them reveal 2 cards. If they discard creatures, then they can eat them with the Ooze. But until then, we chillin'. Also, Rankle makes you sacrifice, right? So that's pretty solid as well. Let's drop off another cleave. Basically, any creatures the opponent sacrifices to Rankle while TERGRID's on the board, we get. So we want to make them drop off their artifacts because we can get their creatures back if they sacrifice them. Alright, they're going to attack with the Ooze. I can double block, which I don't hate, but if they have a Bone Crusher Giant, it kind of blows me out. So, no blocks. We're just going to chill, drop Rankle next turn, and maybe force discard again. We'll see what we draw. Probably going to force sacrifice as well. Okay, we do draw Valky, so I probably want to play this on red. Let's start with Rankle, though. Yeah, looks like a Bone Crusher Giant for my opponent. Let's get in there with the boys. Might see a Stomp. If they're crafty, they have, like, Scorching Dragonfire or something, but I doubt it. Stomp my Elderfang. Okay, so now the question becomes, do I want to force sacrifice now, or do I want to chill and wait till I get the TERGRID down? I don't exactly want to force discard my land. I think we discard, and I'll drop off Valky. And then play TERGRID, force the sacrifice, and then basically trade an Acquisitions Expert for whatever they have. Also, after playing land 5, if we're empty-handed, then whatever they discard we get back for free. They go for a Toski. Okay. And they get another card. Slightly awkward, but we're still okay. So, Locthwain or Red Source. I think I value the Locthwain more. We only have one more Tybalt in the deck anyways. So let's get TERGRID down. Attack with both. I mean, it's a free chump block, but and we're going to sacrifice it anyways, so there's no reason not to attack. Sure. So each player discards, each player sacrifices a creature. Can drop off my land. I really don't mind. Okay, they drop off a passage. We're going to sacrifice the expert. They're probably going to give us an ooze. TERGRID will trigger. Give me that. Give me that. Very good. I can thin my deck with this, which I will do. And yeah, TERGRID says permanence, and lands are permanents, so that feels really nice. Menace is also a pretty cool keyword to have. We don't play with a lot of menace creatures in Standard. And Toski has to attack. Go to blockers. Just take that chump. Or not really chump, but like prevent card draw. And I'm going to do this now just to thin my deck out of more basics. Plenty of swamps to go. Alright, we find Scorpion. Play the boy out. It's another free sacrifice, pretty much. We can go for attacks. If they're double blocking, they lose both their creatures. So we're going to attack with both. And if they double block, we can force sacrifice. That makes them kill Toski too. So we're chilling. Menace coming in mad clutch here. I mean, you pretty much have to get the TERGRID off the board, but they're also running out of cards to discard. Doesn't really matter. Okay, to damage. Nice, and then we go sacrifice a creature, discard a card. And we'll drop off this Scorpion. Basically a free sacrifice. We can... I mean, I can draw, but I've hit my land. At least I think I did. Did I? I don't remember. In any case, it's okay. Wait, how much mana? We can actually hit something. We could hit a 1-drop. I don't think it's worth it. We're just going to pass... Oh, hold on. No, we sacrificed. That's right. Okay, we're going to draw now. Aggro Mauling. We didn't hit our land, but I still think that's worth holding. Yeah, so we actually don't get their Toski because we lost our TERGRID, but hey, everything works out pretty good, and the discard and the TERGRID really got us some pretty nice value. So, nice. Taking out Gruul with Toski. Alright, hand is pretty good, so let's give it a go. Take some mulligan, nice. Double Liliana can get a bit awkward, but it means we can pretty much use one as a removal spell. Just gonna drop off the swamp and get going. Alright, looks like mono red. It's mono red. At least Acquisitions Expert is a solid blocker. Okay. And if we buff it up, it can also be an even crazier blocker. So we'll see. Goldspan Dragon? Alright, well, it's a powerful hit, but the opponent probably wasn't going to have the mana to cast that, at least for a while. Attack? Yeah, we'll take 1. No need to risk this over a combat trick, or like a Rimrock Knight or something. Murderous Rider, or Demonic Embrace. So, do we want to get an actual clock on the mono-red player, or do we want to hold up removal? I think... Oh, this is pretty much a free discard off Liliana. I think we just chill out and hold up removal. And no attacks, because if they want to use a combat trick like a Rimrock Knight on this Fervent Champion, we can basically use the Murderous Rider and cancel cancel it out. Geez, sorry guys. Or we can just do this and take out the Robber of the Rich. Also, opponent won't have red here, so if they attack... If they don't attack, it pretty much is a dead send that they have the Rimrock Knight. Yep. Or they're just really decent at bluffing. We don't have any cards in the yard yet, so we're gonna put this on red. Get Liliana down. And we're gonna go for that plus. Make the opponent drop some stuff off. We'll drop off the Embrace. We can cast it pretty much whenever we want. And it means that next turn we can Liliana minus on this Fervent Champion. They get rid of Infuriate. Okay, so no Rimrock Knight, but Infuriate is probably what they were holding up. Okay, so we're chilling. Double Fervent Champion. Alright, I spoke a wee bit too soon. So this brings my Liliana to 1. It won't be able to minus, but I think that's okay. So I can chump block here, minus, take out a Fervent Champion. Play Liliana to make them discard again. So, okay, I think that's fine. I actually kind of like that. This is also one of the problems I ran into with Mono Red Snow, where you don't get any actual red mana. Okay, so we're going to start here. Target creature gets -X, -X. Just absolutely smork one of those. Play this. Thank you. Now, do we minus or do we plus? I think we plus and just force the last card out of their hand. Nice, Annex. Very good. And now they can't even activate their Faceless Haven because they need a land. Okay, so we've stabilized and we have a castle. We're looking pretty good. They can poke at my life total a little bit, or they can get Liliana down some loyalty, but regardless, we're chilling. And now Liliana's pluses are pretty much free. So, Scorpion, Murderous Rider, and then plus again. Seems good. And it's each opponent who can't discard loses the life, so we can go plus, make them discard maybe an Embercleave. It makes sense. Maybe a Torbrand. Fire Prophecy. Okay, that's also fair. But they won't get the cycle, and we still heal up from it. And they lose 3 life. So now we can go for the Murderous Rider, lifelink blocker / attacker. And they would need a series of really good draws to get out of this spot. Gonna go face? No. Gonna go at Liliana. I guess that's fine. If they have like a Rimrock Knight, I'd rather have my Murderous Rider around. Sure.
Keep your grimy hands off.
I don't think I've heard that voice line before. That's freaking funny.
Rude.
Rude. I love it. Okay, so do we go for the Embrace and just massive lifelink block? Just massive lifelink start chipping in? I kind of like it. I mean, our other option is just burn them for 3. I think we're going to end up doing that anyways. Okay, so we're going to equip here. Discard this land. Massive lifelink. Plus, make them take some damage. And we're straight up to 20. Okay, and they're dead on board right now because we go lifelink 5 in the air and then plus. So they need like a pump spell to take out Liliana or just like direct burn damage. And then a way to kill my Rimrock Knight over my Murderous Rider. Okay, they're not actually dead because of the fact that they held a card. So fair enough, fair enough. We're going to play out the land. We're going to plus the Liliana. Force them to discard. Dragon. Cool. Lifelink attacker. Opponent down to 2. We can draw off the castle during their turn. Or if we really need a blocker, we can animate Faceless Haven. Gonna send at Liliana. Gonna send Face. So I can animate this and protect Liliana. Or I can just draw out the castle. We don't need Liliana anymore. We just have Murderous Rider to attack. Opponent says GG's. I actually think so too. Like, you gotta respect the mono black discard. You don't face it all that often. Or when I say you, I mean players in general. It's not a common deck. Yeah, you pump that Faceless Haven up. Let's draw Flockdwayne, just see what we find. Another land into an Elderfang Disciple. Make the opponent force discard one last time. Just send that to the yard. Torbrand. Okay, they ended up finding their Torbrand. Animate Faceless Haven. I mean, they're dead. It doesn't really matter. And that's GG's. Absolutely stomping aggro today. I don't know what's going on. Feels great. Okay, hand is pretty solid. Pretty decent curve. We have Haggard Mauling tapped on 1, which is fine. Into some discard creatures and sacrifice / removal. So as long as we're in a creature matchup, we're pretty happy. But even against control, like these acquisitions experts are pretty solid. And we get island. Okay, maybe mono blue tempo. Oh, this is control. Okay, very good. I'm acting as if I don't play control like every day. Well, enjoy your force to discard. I know when I play control, I like all my cards. And I want to have as many of them as I can. Alright, come on. Yeah, Control Mage likes his cards. I know I would, at least. Shark Typhoon. Okay, well that's... I don't know how good of a discard that is. It's a card that replaces itself. And, like, it makes the creature and draws a card. So I don't know if I'd be really wanting to discard that. Okay, so it looks like Izzet spells. Let's go for an attack. We might see a Brazen Borrower, but I mean, I don't know why the opponent would ever want to do that. So Skyclave Shade or Acquisitions Expert. I think we get aggressive. We'll play around a Jwari's Disruption and go for the Shade. We might even be able to hit a Goldspan Dragon if we play this next turn. And we have the answer for it. So if this is Izzet tempo instead of just raw Dimir, or Izzet control, then I guess we're really happy because we have some removal. And we have the answer to this Faceless Haven as well. So that's really nice. Opponent doesn't draw land and passes. Alright, perfect. Let's get some damage in. Opponent can cycle for a 1/1 Shark here, but I play land to get the Skyclave Shade back. Alright. Play land. Go for an Elderfang Disciple. Force discard. Essence Scatter. Well, it's like they force discarded, so we're pretty happy. Other acquisitions expert. Tome holding priority. Alright. Show me a hand. These 2-mana creatures that get like incremental value are looking really solid. Oh, you don't want a Brazen Borrower my creature? Why? I'd love that. Well, not the Shade. This is a decent Brazen Borrower target, but everything else, like, hey, I'm mad happy. Okay, so they're bottoming a lot of cards. They're probably looking for more land, and they take 3 to play it. I was going to say probably another red source, especially. Okay, double Soul Shatter. Dragon looks really bad. Get in some damage, and I'm going to hold open all this removal. It is the dragon turn, and if not, I can just take a massive hit and draw off castle, which isn't ideal, but they're not exactly pressuring me, and I have my hand full of removal spells, so we are going to need to find action at some point. This might be a shot coming. It's either that or a Behold the Multiverse, which they cast. And we're taking 5 to draw a card, which sucks, but it might be what we have to do. I was really banking on them hitting land and going into a dragon, but it doesn't look like that's the sequencing we're going to get. Alright, another land. And we're going to draw. Big ouchies, but I think the damage is worth the card in this spot. Land is fine. It's not perfect, but it's not horrible. We'll attack first because if they take out the Shade, we're going to want to recast it. And they might have just been looking for another land with the Behold the Multiverse, so I am going to hold all this removal open once again. Stomp. That's fine. We can get that back next turn. We still have another land. And if they're just casting a Bone Crusher Giant, we're pretty happy to just Murderous Rider it. So let's go. Goldspan Dragon. Ooh, they're not going to like this. Soul Shatter. No target, no protection. Oh, that feels so good. Okay. Let's get in there with both of these acquisitions experts. And I want 3 mana to Soul Shatter because they might have a second dragon. And we're going to go for 1 red source because we're on a bunch of mana. We're going to play out the Shade. And okay, am I holding open removal? I think I am. Maybe tapping out for Liliana is worth it. And just start plussing her. I think so, actually. There's no guarantee they're even going to have a second Goldspan Dragon, and this is a pseudo clock. We can discard Bloodchief's Thirst. I don't even think they have any targets for it. And having to respect the Planeswalker, along with trying to get me dead and survive, is a lot to ask. And they drop off a Behold the Multiverse, so that's pretty good. That's a card advantage spell. That land probably came off the top. They're on 7 mana. They can go for Goldspan Dragon, attack, and then go for a Bone Crusher Giant. We do need another land if we're going to play the Shade. Alright, opponent just straight up bounces it and is going after my Liliana, and they scoop it up. Yeah, it's really difficult to win from this spot. Like, I attack them for another 2 next turn, I plus Liliana, and I play out my Shade, and they're back in a very similar spot, but at a lower life total. Next time they animate Faceless Haven, I can Murderous Rider it, and even if they find their dragon, I have another Soul Shatter. Alright, double Tergrid against Kahira, so some sort of jank, but let's go. We might be able to get the combo of Tergrid's Lantern on 4 into Tergrid on 5. So as long as we draw some lands, we might have that Dream Curve. So Kahira is either Cat Tribal, right, or a dedicated control deck. Let's get the shade down. We have some pretty good control cards here, or not control cards, but like versus control cards. Faceless Haven. Okay, so yeah, Birth. This is definitely just raw control, but hey, discard is decent against them, and if we don't hit our lands, we're in big trouble. So get in for 3, force them to discard, and yeah, our best draws are literally just land, 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 and we run 26 or 25. I'm not sure. I was playing with the numbers, so we should be able to get there. And they drop off a land. Hey man, must be nice. If we don't draw land, we're just gonna Bloodchief's Thirst this wall. And it looks like they're on mono white control, which we can live with. Alright, that's good. I think we're putting it on red. And honestly, I mean, we can Murderous Rider here. But is this really going to find a better target? But this is way more mana efficient. So sure, we'll go for the Murderous Rider. Take out their wall just so we can get in a clean hit. It means they're on only these types of creatures. So they're probably just a creatureless control deck. And I like the idea of getting this out of my hand and using all my mana. They might have another Birth Wall in the future that we have to use it on. The Bloodchief's Thirst, that is. But this is fine for now. And if they're just pure mono white control, then the Lantern might be a huge problem for them. Oh, they have a Banishing Light. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. And we hit land. Awesome. Really good. Let's get in some damage. Just a 2-mana 1/1. Clean pickings. Opponent's Maze Mind Tome is holding priority. Poke. Also, I don't trust that TERGRID is actually going to stick around. They probably have stuff like ECD, but I do think the Lantern... Well, I mean, the Lantern also gets clipped by ECD, but I think it's worth getting down. It might force them to use their discard on it. And we can wait for them to do something before we activate the Lantern. There's no rush. So this also would force them to sacrifice permanents. Alright, they go for a Maze Mind Tome. So we might be able to get our own Tome, or we might be able to get our own Banishing Light and our Shade back, depending on how long this game goes. And we target you. Pretty easy choice. So what's it going to be? Take 3 damage. Alright, we take those. So, Rankle. Rankle isn't bad. It's very aggressive. I kind of like the idea of getting Liliana down, because it's kind of like a static discard outlet. So if we can go Liliana into the actual TERGRID and make them discard twice, that's really good. And ECD is going to have a hard time picking one of the two. Whereas if they just have a board wipe like Shadow or Doomscar, we're a lot further behind. Although they do have double white, so they're okay. I was going to say they need a double white, but they have it. Liliana obviously resolves. They don't have any counter magic. And we're going to plus. They're also not a Yorion deck. They're a Kahira deck, which I don't know if that's correct. Yorion lets you run creatures like Simulacrum and Skyclave Apparition. Where, while Kahira is free, I do think Yorion is a lot more free. In the building restrictions is a lot less costly. Or are a lot less costly. Yep, alright. Taking the Scry off the Tome. To the bottom, very good. I think they're just looking for ECD right now. I mean, that's what I would be looking for. But they can't even have a free blink. Because of... well, I mean, the free blink would be in the Yorion Companion. Maybe I'm just gushing. I like Yorion. Leave me alone. Faceless Haven animate and attack the Liliana. I don't think that's where you want to be. Okay, Crawling Barrens animate. They don't have triple snow mana. Okay, fair, fair, fair. I suppose we can do this now. I mean, it forces them to sacrifice target non-land permanent. But, you know. We'll see what they go for. They ought to take more damage. I mean, that's also an option. But eventually this will get them killed. And we don't find more land. All right, awkward. Rankle. Get aggressive. Really looking for that land 5. I mean, we can draw. We can ditch draw, but I don't really want it. Nice. Man, I had that in my hand before. I have 2 rankles. Alright. And we're going to each discard a card. And do we lose 1 life draw? It gets them further, so I mean, yeah, let's do it. We want more discard fodder for Liliana. And I think we discard TERGRID at this point. I think the Lantern is more important. And I think being able to haste in a Rankle and kill them while they're on 4 is really good. Alright, we're going to plus. Make them discard for real. Ditch the Expert. They ditch, who knows? Oh, they ditched a Starnheim Unleashed and a Glass Casket. Okay. So they're dead to a hasty Rankle. I mean, actually they're not. If they take double Scry, yeah, I mean Scry here and like Scry their next turn, then they're okay. But they are getting chipped down, and this is going to deal another 3 to them, or they're going to give me something. Land, that's fine. We take these. They have to be careful with how much life they pay to the Lantern right now. They're getting pretty low. Doomscar. Yep, that's fine. So I guess land would be our best draw. Make you lose some life. What are you going to give me? Some life, a card, a permanent. We take it all here. Give me a Maze Mind Tome. I don't have TERGRID, so I don't actually get it, but hey, I'm not complaining. So, Rankle. Rankle isn't bad. It gets in there. Opponent's gonna scry. They could have drawn. I don't know why you didn't. Or why they didn't. To the top. Take 3. Discard. Draw. Actually, no draw. Just discard. Ooh, good. Nice. Alright, so we're gonna plus. Take 3.
You think too much.
And I guess sauce me that Banishing Light. I mean, sacrifice the Banishing Light. Give me my Skyclave Shade back. Okay, so they're dead to a Liana plus. Oh, we just smorked them out of this game. This was dirty. GG's. Alright guys, and we are back. So this deck was a lot of fun. I don't think it's very competitive, but it can definitely win you some games. Like, it's not bad by any means. It's only one colored, like it's a monocolored deck, so it's fairly consistent in its curve. And discard while pressuring your opponent can lead to some very powerful things. I was surprisingly impressed by TERGRID's Lantern. I've typically not been a massive fan of the backside of these gods, but the fact that they have the flexibility is really good. And the combo of getting TERGRID's Lantern down on 4 and TERGRID down on 5 is just amazing. Although one thing I always have to keep in mind when playing this deck is that, is that whenever I have I make the opponent discard a card later in the game, that I'm not actually going to get it, right? I get into this mindset where I'm like, yeah, TERGRID discard, I'm going to get everything I make him discard. That's not true when TERGRID's not on the field, obviously. I just think it's an easy trap to fall into. Or maybe I'm just an idiot, who knows? But anyways, guys, it is a lot of fun, and I do really recommend you guys try it out. So decklist will be in the description down below as always, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.